This is a story about a country boy from Horsham, Victoria, and his journey playing basketball on the world's biggest stage.
And Mitch Creek is on the board.
Who loves nothing more than playing for his country.
It meant so much to finally get your name on an Aussie jersey. I cried in front of all the coaches. For minutes I was just bawling and I couldn't believe it.
Playing ball, jumping out of planes. Like all of us, Mitch has faced many obstacles on his journey.
I kind of wanted to hide under a rock for all last season.
And how you're holding up now, like how's your mental health?
My name is Mitch Creek and today I'm hanging out with Rush. Enjoy the episode.
Let's go, Rush! All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have basketball star Mitch Creek in the house. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here.
I really appreciate you coming past. I know you're a busy man. I've been following your journey for a long time, so I've got a lot of questions I want to ask you today.
All right, let's get underway, man. Let's go.
So let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Horsham, country Victoria, between Melbourne and Adelaide. It's kind of the stop that everyone makes halfway, and there's a big park there, and everyone normally gets KFC or Macca's. That's what Horsham's normally known for. Until I think we had some bright young talent from the town go to football, AFL, and then basketball. So Horsham's home and heart for me, but don't get to go back there as much as I'd like. But it's definitely where I ground myself the most.
And was basketball always the focus for you growing up, or did you play other sports?
I did play other sports. Like my father had played footy and also a bit of basketball locally. Never at a professional level or really semi-professional. It was just more of a hobby and a fun and a passion that he enjoyed. And I know as a kid, a lot of that was, the choices you had as a young man growing up was, you got into a trade, you played footy on the weekends, the netballs afterwards. I had sisters, so the weekends are normally spent down at the footy oval or basketball at the night time on a Saturday, footy in the morning and netball in the afternoon. So it was pretty nice little lifestyle we had going on there for a while.
And growing up in a small town, who are your role models as a kid?
It was hard for me for a long time to try and find people to really, look at and say, that's who I'm inspired by, that's who I want to grow up and be like. Because realistically, you come from such a small place and a community that doesn't really see a lot of high-end, success in other fields and especially sport. But for me, someone who I actually really looked up to as a young basketballer was probably Steve Nash. One that was a clear favourite for me was Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp was obviously my go-to guy. I just liked the fact that he was just such a powerful player and he played with so much passion, excitement. It did help that he broke the backboard off a few times and was renowned for that. But I still have a Sonics jersey from back in the day that is poorly made and still gives me a rash on my chest every time I wear it. But those are probably my two adult and star kind of idols. But honestly, for me, it was probably my dad. When you really strip it all back, I remember getting a photo. I actually have it on my phone. It's my background. It's him shooting a fadeaway in the driveway in little tight white shorts and a singlet and in black and white, and he's got his long hair and his mustache, and that for me was a symbolism of a really cool photo and something that I was like, I want to get photos like that one day. That's a pretty cool thing. So for me, being very young and probably being very unaware, subconsciously, that's where my heart really lied with my dad.
And you spent 18 months at the AIS in Canberra. So I'm originally from Canberra, and I'm always curious to know what people think of Canberra as a place.
I actually really like Canberra. It was a place at first I didn't like. I didn't want to be away from family and friends. My parents had just split up at the time, and I was very young and very raw, and there was a lot of emotion for me. So it was really hard to just kind of up and leave. My sister was living in Melbourne at the time, and I'd had the chance to go to the Institute of Sport probably 6 months earlier, but I declined it. And then a couple of months later, Mum and Dad had spoken to me a few times and sat me down and said, hey, look, it's a great opportunity. We feel like if you take it and you don't like it, you can come home. And we're going to be here for you with open arms. But if you don't go, you'll kick yourself later in life. And I'm so glad I listened to them. It's probably one of the few times as a young teenager I did listen to my parents, but I did like it. I really did enjoy it. It was a good lifestyle. You trained hard. You had your friends there. After a while, they became your friends. At first, they're kind of like the rivals and from other states at national champs, but I fell in love with the whole process there and the work ethic you were instilled with. But then at the same time, you get to 18 and you're still there, and you start to get to go to Mooseheads and Unipub, and it was the $2 vodka raspberries, and the boys had a bit of a laugh there. You go to the mall on the weekends. We used to go and hit up Donut King at 9 p.m. when it closed and try and snag all the free donuts. So you'd be there once a week with your paycheck you got from the postal service at the institute or whatever job you could pick up, and you go and buy a new Xbox game or something, and you jump on the sticks. But yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
You sound like a real Canberra local. And so look, you wear number 55. What's the meaning behind that?
So when I went to Adelaide originally, I actually wanted to be number 5, but there was actually a pretty good player who had retired that jersey called Brett Maher, who kind of took that chance away from me. And at the time, there was only a certain height of a number you could go up to. Now, my dad was always number 5, and I said I wanted to be number 5 for him. But when I couldn't have that, I said, well, what's the next number I can have? And I think the highest was like low 30s or 40s was the highest number on the team at the time. And being a rookie, I wasn't very good and I wasn't having much pull. So I went 2 and 3 as 5 and wore 23. And then when they opened it up some years later in Adelaide, I turned around and said, all right, can I be 55? So I was 5 for me and then 5 for Dad. So that's why I wear 55. And a lot of people kind of just think you wear a number and you've had it your whole life, but it wasn't until I was a professional I thought, you know what, I can actually make a bit of a career out of this. It's pretty special, and for me to be able to share it with my mum, my dad, and my 2 amazing sisters, to be able to have a little symbol of 55. So 5 for me and 5 for Dad is the reason for it.
Oh, that's nice. Look, you've had an incredible NBL career, but I'm really curious to know more about the NBA journey. Tell me like how it all started and yeah, from the beginning.
I guess I played the last season in Adelaide with the Sixers. Had a pretty good season, I thought. Got to the finals. We didn't win it, but we lost to Melbourne, I'm pretty sure. And the opportunity went to go over to Germany to play in the BBL to finish the season there. I played the season and came back after about 6 weeks when their season had finished and had got offered another job in Germany, and I was going to take that. I'd actually signed the deal to go to Germany, and then about 2 weeks later, we got a call from the Nets saying, hey, we want to bring you on as an Exhibit 10. So basically, you come in, you do training camp, we pay you anywhere between, I think it's like 15 or 50,000 to come into training camp. And then you play in the G-League. And you don't know if you're going to get any money for training camp. They might just cut you after a week and not pay you pretty much anything. And you've basically turned your back on, for me, what was a lot of money at the time. It wasn't millions of dollars, but it was, when you start to make some pretty good money and you've never seen that in your family nor yourself, it's life-changing. And, my sister had started a business, my parents are separated, finding their own paths, and you want to kind of help provide for your family and give them opportunities. So it was a big decision to kind of turn my back on Germany, a big career probably in Europe to play there, to go and say, you know what, am I good enough to play in the NBA? And I signed the Exhibit 10 and went across and finished training camp. Was fortunate to be paid the 50,000. And look, these are numbers that people can look up on Google. It's not like a bragging rights thing. It's literally like you go into G League and it's like I think it's a $30,000 contract and that's it. And I was like, I'm putting all this other money aside and maybe the freedom for my family years down the track to see if I'm good enough to play at the next level. And it was a big jump and it was a big risk for me, and it was very lonely and it was very hard, but I got through the camp, didn't make the cut, but they said come to the Long Island Nets, play there, have a great season, and let's see what happens. Maybe get a 10-day, maybe get signed. The time went by, months and months and months, and you're doing the right things and you're hearing the right things and you're putting yourself in positions to be successful, and you're trying to build an almost... The G League had a very selfish side to it, which most people would look at and say there's a very large percentage of players that turn around and are pretty selfish about how they play the game. And I wanted to kind of, break that curve and say, let's play a team brand of basketball. We were well coached by Will Weaver, who I'd had as an assistant with the Australian team. And Will and I were able to do some pretty special things with that group. And it was awesome. We played a beautiful game of basketball. We finished as regular season champs. I had 3 call-ups through that season, 2 to the Brooklyn Nets and then 1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then, finally towards the end of the season, my time came. And once I signed that third 10-day and I got with Minnesota, I moved across there with about 6 hours notice, packed up all my stuff in New York, moved across and did my 10 days there. And then they said they'd sign me to the rest of the season on a full contract. So It was surreal to say the very least. You work so hard and you put in so much effort and you go through so much pain and so many struggles, and you don't know if it's going to pay off. You don't know if the hard work and the satisfaction of just saying I did the work but I didn't get to eat the golden egg at the end, is it still worth it? Is just doing the work and doing everything humanly possible that you can control enough to be happy? And it was enough for me. But then when you do get the golden egg, you get that call, I'm laying in bed, it's 10:30, we're about to go on an 11-day West Coast swing in the G-League, and they're like, unpack your shit, you're getting a 10-day, and you're gonna suit up with the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow against the New York Knicks. That there is the epitome of, I don't know even how to call it. It's like a joyous moment of like tension release, and every emotion you could feel, you feel. I burst into tears. I called my family on our big group text, and there was about 10 people answering the phone, and you're up at all hours in the morning trying to get some sleep, just thinking, well, what have I got to do now? What's next? Like, I've got to now scout for New York, the Knicks. So I watched the last game they played, and I knew I wasn't going to play any minutes, but I was in that mentality of, this is it. This is the next step. And although I got there, this is now the beginning. You fight to the top, then you get there and you look up and you're like, oh shit, there's another mountain to climb. And that's how I felt, but I was ready for that challenge, and I did everything I could to put my best foot forward. So it was head down, bum up.
And break down the moment when you first stepped on the NBA court and it's your first game. I mean, what's going through your head? What emotions are you feeling?
It was actually really crazy because one of the players on our team had actually gone in for a layout rodeo. A Rondé Hollins-Jefferson actually went up, got fouled, and I think maybe did his shoulder and went off injured. And when that happens, the opposing team coach gets to select someone from the other team to shoot the foul shots. And they knew it was actually my first night. So they knew I wasn't going to play any minutes, and they said that I had to shoot the free throws. So I'm sitting on the bench just being a cool cat, thinking like I'm in the NBA, how good is this, looking around. And then all of a sudden you're like, come on, you're on. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, everything went from like loosey-goosey to like tight as a tiger. Like, this was, I was 0 to 100 from feeling great to feeling so much nervous energy in my body that I became so tense. I don't actually remember shooting the first free throw, and I can't really remember what the second one felt like now that I think about it really closely, and for a long time I couldn't. But when I sat there and really tried to think about it, I just remember not being able to feel the ball in my fingertips.
Yeah, wow.
And I went to bend my knees, and I felt like I just hinged at the hips like a drinking bird. Like, it was such a surreal feeling to be out there and to see these amazing players on each team. And I missed the first free throw, and I was like, if I get one opportunity this whole time and I miss both free throws, I'm going to kick myself. Made the next one, got subbed straight back off. Everyone went crazy, a lot of high fives, a lot of celebrations, but it was an amazing moment and one I'll remember forever.
Now I'm going to show you a photo, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this photo.
This one always gets me pretty funny because it's everyone was saying the Greek freak versus the Creek freak, and it kind of like stuck a little bit because every now and then on some comments or something when I post, they'll always say the Creek freak because of that moment. It was cool. I remember the first thing they said with the scout was don't let Giannis get in the paint and dunk, and I think the first two plays of the game were dunks by Giannis, and we called a timeout about a minute in. So we didn't do a great job of the scout, but then I got to go in and play probably about 20 minutes, I think, that game, and got to guard him multiple times. Got a couple of buckets, got some rebounds, got some transition plays. I think I had a behind the back pass in transition to Zana Musa. I felt comfortable, and even playing against someone of that caliber who is literally a Greek god to so many people, I look at him and was like, oh my God, you're amazing. Like, let me touch you. That's how you feel, because I'm just a kid at heart, and my hobby's on the outside of basketball and who I am away from the court. and even now is so different to how I am on court. It's very much, misplaced judgment sometimes because you're so competitive and you're very vocal and passionate and you bite back and you talk shit to fans and you have witty banter, but realistically at the end of the day, on the inside, you're just going like, oh my God, Giannis is on me. I hope he doesn't dunk, but I hope he does. Like, this is sick. And I had a lot of those moments. I got to play in Dwayne Wade's last game, Dirk Nowitzki's last game. Like, that's some pretty high caliber people I got to play against who had incredible careers who I've looked up to for a long time. So yeah, that was a pretty awesome moment to play against him and guard him. I think he had 2 turnovers against me. So I'm not saying I'm better than Giannis, but my mum always tries to tell me that I am. So thanks, Mum, for the ego boost.
And was your mum or family members there at the game?
So I think they missed the first 2 games, or the first game, and then they got for the second game against Boston, and then they came to the rest of them. So they only missed the very first night because they got on a flight and it was a 20-hour process to get there. And I didn't have enough time from call to play time. Was, I think, just under 20 hours. So it was pretty short notice for them. But they got there for the second one in Boston, so it was pretty sweet.
Oh, that's good. I mean, look, that game against the Bucks is obviously pretty memorable, but is there anything else that stands out from your time in the NBA?
The lessons I took from it was resilience is something that is more than just a work on. Like, you need to live it and breathe it and understand both sides of it. You can't understand good in life without understanding the bad. And you can't experience the highest of highs unless you've experienced the lowest of lows. Mitch Orville actually was someone who said it well, and he's just like, hurt people, and healed people, heal people. And that whole experience was incredible from the outside, but from the inside, it's tough. And it's a journey that you only really want to take if you're comfortable with yourself. Because if you're not really that comfortable with yourself when the lights go out and you lay your head on your pillow and you look back at your career and you go, maybe I was good enough, but I really didn't give up a lot to go and chase it. And I gave up a lot to chase it. I got speculated from day one, like, you can't make it, you're not good enough, you can't shoot, you can't do this, you can't you'll never get there. And you're like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I am shit. And you think about all the times you feel negative in life and how many times you compound your own feelings with more bad feelings, low vibration energy, attracting the same low vibration energy. It's hard and you're on your own. It's the middle of winter. We think Melbourne's bad here sometimes, but it's minus 10, 20 degrees, snowing, your car won't start, it's icy. You need to get a fresh battery from inside because it's frozen. And then you got to still go to training, finish training, and then drive an hour and a half into the Nets facilities to then go and work out their injured guys. Then you come back that night and do it all again. You're like, man, is this really worth it when you're not getting the opportunities you feel maybe you deserve? And then you see other people get them and you're like, man, this is tough. And I was on the phone in tears. I was doubting myself. And then it happens and you're like, holy shit, this is so incredible. But I think the thing I'm trying to get across is when you're in a position to find out what an opportunity may be, just find out. Take it, go and try it, sample it, whatever it is you need to do with that moment, go and just see what happens. Because if you don't, you're going to sit there at the end of your career on your rocking chair. Oh man, I used to be very good. I hurt my knee, or oh yeah, I could have done that, could have done this. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be someone that says, I gave it balls to the wall. I put my nuts on the line. I said, am I good enough? And I got signed. I got to play there. People even today be like, oh, you suck. You can't even get back to the NBA. And you sit there and you're like, man, I hope someone in your life is just pushing you to be better, because that's the energy and the negativity that we need to eradicate from the world. And if everyone just gave each other positive feedback and positive criticism, mate, the world would flourish. There's reasons why other countries flourish so much more than we do as a culture over here, I think, is because we hit with negativity rather than supporting a neighbor who doesn't get anything out of it except great energy from you. And maybe that would be returned if the world was a little more like that, especially where we are in Australia. We say we're all mates and brotherhood and all this kind of stuff, but do we always show that? Are we always that kind of community? I don't think we are, but I try and instill that with other people. And even when I have negative comments, I try and say, hey, I appreciate you messaging me, telling me I'm a piece of shit. I hope you have a great day and a great Easter. And they're like, what? Like, what are you trying to, huh? Can I be rude back to him again? Like, you suck. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You have a great day. They're like, what the fuck? What is this guy talking about? But we need that. Instead of compiling it and compounding it, I think that's a message that needs to be really delivered to people because, I mean, when's the last time you had someone do a blind gesture of good faith or goodwill for you for no reason other than they saw that you needed a little help or a push? Most of us can't answer that question with a recent memory. So imagine if we all had 2 or 3 of those a week, how good we'd feel.
Wow, incredible words. You're a super positive guy. I mean, have you always been this way, or is it something that you picked up while you're in the States, a coach, a player, someone kind of told you to, think this particular way?
Definitely not. Haven't always been that way. It's definitely something that you need to work on and something that I take a lot out of being able to help others and leave a good impression on other people. And I never want to leave a room feeling worse than what they felt before I walked in. I want them to feel like my presence and my energy has rubbed off on them and they go, man, like he didn't need to do that, but that's an amazing person that they went out of their way to change that little kid's night, or they just said a few words of encouragement and that made me feel so happy. I never always got that. I've always been criticized pretty heavily, and most of the things I decide to do in this world right now, people kind of get on the back of and say you can or you can't, and they have that to and fro. But I think it's just a lesson I've learned that I don't want to be how other people have treated me, and I don't want to feel that way. So I don't want to make others feel that way. And there's times where you need to bite your tongue and sometimes you don't, but you need to, for the most part, give as much positive energy to other people without taking too much from yourself. Because I think that's what's helped me grow the most. Understanding the negative, using the positive, learning from the situation, and then moving forward and trying to help someone else find the same resolution as I have.
And you've had another amazing season and you're playing really well. I mean, is the goal to get back to the NBA? Is that still on the cards for you?
It's still a goal. I never didn't want to go back there. It's just hard with contracts. You can't really just leave in the middle of a season unless it's a full deal. And they're very hard to get. I think I've tried to do all that I can to try and get back there. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Honestly, bummer, I miss out. But I've given it as much of my energy and time as I have. And I can sleep well at night knowing that I've done that. I've shown genuine care for myself, my other teammates, the staff, the club, the fans. Along the way, people I've never met, scouts call and ask for reviews about other players or whatever it is. And I'm brutally honest. I've always been true to myself, and I think that I can sleep comfortably knowing that I've done everything I can to try and get back there. And if it happens, awesome. If it doesn't, then you know what? I'm going to go to bed, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to feel good about my day. So I don't think too many people can truly say that about their careers or their lives. So right now I'm in that mindset, and there's opportunities coming in my life that away from basketball, which are far more important than any opportunity to play in the NBA or anywhere in the world will ever take precedence of. So for me, it's about life and affecting positive change in other people's worlds. So NBA is great. I've made it. I've been there. I dabbled my toe in the water for a little bit. I'm just proud to see other Aussies doing such an amazing job over there right now, because it inspires the next generation to go and do the same thing. And if I've left any positive impression for the next generation, then my job's done. So
guys, just a quick break from the Mitch Creek interview. If you're enjoying the content on my channel, there's also a good chance you're gonna like my newsletter. It's a free exclusive email that I send on a regular basis, sharing what motivates me through YouTube, podcasts, athletes, hip hop, art, and more to help inspire you. I've put the newsletter link below in the description of this video. All right, let's get back into the interview. That's great. And what do you think is the biggest difference between the NBA and the NBL in terms of skill level or something like that?
I think the biggest difference between NBA and NBL is probably just the length and the size. And honestly, the top 3 players on every team are going to be guns, like absolute studs, flat out superstars, and that's a given. But it's then the next 7 or 8 guys. I think any top level player in the NBL can go over there and kick some ass. You know, you watch, you know, Torrey Craig gone over, wasn't a superstar here. Yes, he was a superstar, but he wasn't a Bryce Cotton. You know, he did a great job here. He played a very amazing role and was very successful here, but that's no knock on him. Don't get that wrong. I respect and love how that guy plays. But he's now a pro in the NBA, kicking ass. You know, that's awesome. Jay Sean Tate came over here, maybe an all second team, I think he was, maybe it was the first team. But, you know, didn't average 25 and 15. You know, I think he was like high teens, 16, 17 a game. You know, half a dozen boards, couple of dimes, did all the right things, played his ass off. You know, but now he's over there, you know, kicking ass, taking names. And you want to see these guys get those opportunities. So then other guys in the NBL can go, you know what? I'm going to go to Summer League. I'm going to go and put my foot in the water. I'm going to go and do a G League contract. I'm going to go on the Ignite team, or whatever it is, whatever pathway you choose. So I think it's so close with that next, after the top 3 or 4 guys, I think it's pretty close with our top guys, but definitely a great level over here to play in. I'd love to see defensive 3 come in. I'd love to see the NBA game be the world game, because that's what everyone's aspiring to go to. So I don't know why the rest of the world's playing one way and the NBA plays another way. So, you know, and then college is completely crazy again. So, you know, I just want to see, you know, a clear guideline of basketball. And I think if we made a few of those changes, even going back to 48 minutes, jump balls, stuff like that, that's cool. Like, that's really cool. Yeah, I think that would be good for basketball on both ends, especially in Australia and all across the world. But yeah, there's not much difference.
All right, I'm going to show you another photo, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you see this.
Yeah, it's got a lot of attention. That week after that was probably the most depressive I've felt in a long time.
Wow.
I'd gone through a hell of a 18 months emotionally off the court, you know, on the court as well. It was really tough. You get booed out of stadiums, you get people calling you names and throwing stereotypes at you, and you know, it's not easy at all. You know, I know who I am as a person, and I know how I treat people, and to be labeled as something that you're not is very tough. But then I kind of wanted to hide under a rock for all last season. And you make finals, and honestly, I probably didn't want to make finals last year because I knew there was going to be more attention and more eyes on the game, and I just knew that's more people criticizing and getting on me. And I don't care about basketball criticism. I care about the personal attacks, the death threats, people vandalizing stuff at your home, and you know, miswriting stuff in the media, and you know, slanderizing you and you know, defaming you, stuff like that. That's tough. You know, my family had to go through it, my sisters, my dad, my loved ones, my circle of friends. And that actually was really tough because a lot of people, you know, I had a good start to the year and whatever, and I've had a decent season. But, you know, you have a play like that and then all eyes are on you. And then obviously Mason Peatling comes in and gives me a nudge, and I go after him. And then there's like my reaction from his reaction. And then all of a sudden it kind of starts again. And then you got people, you know, writing your letters and your DMs, like it's just crazy how quickly it changes. And I had every reporter, every news outlet, every TV, every radio, every podcaster be like, oh, you know, this. And I just kept saying, look, it's one play. It's not that big a deal. He's been dunked on by other guys. I've been dunked on by other guys. I know he'd do the same thing every single time as I would. And I respect Ellie. I absolutely admire Matty D. Like, this man has gone and got himself some awesome nicknames in this world of basketball. Like, he's the Steph Curry stopper. You know, he's gone and won a championship. Like, this man has done incredible things, and he's a pro's friggin' pro. And there needs to be more people like him. But it was a tough one, man. Like, that really brought a lot of stuff up for me.
Wow.
And that reaction was really confronting to me. And I was in a pretty dark spot for about a week or two, and you know, I had to take a day or two off training to just reset my mind, because it was a pretty dark place I went. As much as it's a great moment and thousands of people are you know, celebrating a great moment, I was just sitting there like, didn't reply to friends or family or many people. And I was just dwelling on the fact, I was like, man, like, you got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people calling your names, getting back on you. Yeah, like, that's what you do. Like, you chase after people and attack them. Like, that's not a nice feeling. And, I get people have an opinion, but, at what point and to what expense? Because I've gone through some horrific times in my life, and I know everyone's got their own battles and demons, but when people, write you messages, and I have to, every time I get a death threat, in the last 2 years, I've had to report it to, the appropriate people through BA and Sport Integrity, and it's pretty tough to ignore those things. So I'd like people to be able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna say he did an amazing job. I'm not gonna tell him he was an absolute piece of shit, but he can go kill himself either. I'm just saying, maybe find a medium ground. Instead of telling me, I should have died instead of Shane Warne, and people say like that kind of stuff, like, you go, where are you at to try and bring someone down? Because what happens if you say something, or your reaction or your comment then causes a suicide or someone to take their life? And
well, look, the last thing I was expecting you to say was death threats and this kind of behavior from fans, people. I mean, going into basketball, did you ever expect to have this type of thing happen to you?
Nah, you don't. I never thought I'd play a professional level, let alone, be in a position where you get, people attack you. And look, when speculation rises, you expect, some stones to be thrown. But then when the dust has settled and, everything is on the table and everyone knows what's actually going on now and the truth's come out, you kind of expect it to die down a little bit. But then it's like relentless attacks and you're like, this is getting old, And I didn't want to actually play this season. I had spoken to the club about not playing this year, and I was in the States for a couple of months, and I was pretty happy. I was pretty happy at the end of it, but the first probably 3 months there, I was in a really bad place, and my family was kind of really chasing me to come home, so they knew I was going to be okay. But then I just said, like, I need time to myself, and I was overseas for 4 months by myself, traveling and just doing things that I needed to do, and I didn't touch a basketball for a few months. Like, I really got away from the game and just became a normal human. I felt like a normal person again, and then, I wasn't going to play this season, and, kind of, toed and froed quite a lot with my family about it, and then we decided that, a few months had already gone by into the new season, and it was going to be too hard to kind of, find a way to maybe miss this year. And I thought, you know what, let's see how well trained I am with dealing with adversity, and where my mental toughness can really push me to. And I found a fire again for basketball, and that was really cool because I'd lost that the year before. And as I said, it was a very hard year, and it was something that, if I could get through that, I can get through anything now. And I really do believe that made me a stronger person. But yeah, it definitely does take its toll when people sitting there sending things like that, or it's pretty crazy, some of the stuff. If I told you like some of the things that had happened, you wouldn't believe some of them. And you report them, you speak to the club about them, and they kind of sit there like, wow, like, are you okay? Like, that's the first question they always ask, which is amazing. But you got to be okay, because you got to go to training and you got to perform and you got to be under pressure, and then you've got to put on a show for your fans, and then you got to do all the little things for the kids and the mums and the dads and the aunties and uncles that bust their ass to get through COVID, to survive, to have a great healthy family, and then have the energy to come down and watch us play. That's what you have to find motivation from, and that's what's been the most amazing thing for me, is that there's so many reasons to play the game of basketball. When you may not love it as much as you love it or have loved it, you find inspiration in other avenues. And kids, families, next generation, the ability you can have on someone's life, you can be the changing or pivotal moment on their lives, and that for me is the most amazing thing to be able to kind of accomplish, is to have a positive effect on others.
And how you're holding up now, like, how's your mental health? Because I know you're a big advocate for are you okay?
Yeah.
But I mean, how are you coping?
Look, it's been a tough year. Like, obviously you lose games, it makes it tougher. You're trying to find ways to find success, and put yourself and others in successful positions. But I think, you know, I've been in a place where I've got amazing people in my life. It's about not now overreaching to help others, more so to help yourself. And then, as I said earlier, healed people heal people, hurt people hurt people. And you can't really help anyone else until you've done the work to heal yourself. And, you know, I'd say right now, Kerry Thorogood from Melbourne Float House, this isn't a sponsored plug or anything, but she's been one of the most incredible people in my life the last few years. And she does a lot of Reiki and energy work, and she's had, you know, people that have come in and helped me and my recovery and just being there as a friend to talk. And she's probably been the most pivotal person in me staying alive, staying healthy, and then staying on court. The three things that she's really helped me with. So, you know, if I could ever do anything to try and help her, I always can. I go to her business sometimes and I sit in the back and I label drink bottles for her and pack, you know, Easter bags or whatever it is, or I, you know, fold towels, whatever if I got 5 minutes, I will help any way I can, because the amount of help she's given me, you know, it's people like that who don't want anything for it, but it's just there for the right reasons. They're the most special people in this world. And I've had so many, but honestly, for whatever reason right now, that came to my head to really say thank you. So yeah, it truly does mean a lot when you get out of a hard place because of such beautiful people.
And the last 2 years have been, you know, such a hard time for everybody. What advice have you got for, especially like young kids that are watching this and they're hearing you talk about mental health? What do you suggest that they do to fix their bad kind of mental ways?
Mental health is something that people shy away from because they feel that talking about a problem, no matter how big or small it may seem to other people, it's a big problem for you and it's a big deal for you. I always take much from is, if we both stub our toe right now, it's going to hurt you 5 out of 10. But then I stub my toe, I don't make a noise, and you're wincing around, hopping on one leg. Someone looks from the outset and goes, oh, he's carrying on a bit. Another person might look at it and go, well, maybe that's just subjective. Maybe he hit his toe harder. Maybe he already had a broken toe. Like, if you already had a broken toe and you bump it a little bit, it's going to hurt. I might have a fake toe with a plastic cover on it, and no one knows about it. That is literally the craziest way I could describe it. But you literally don't know what someone's going through. So when you have something going on in your life and you're dealing with mental health, you don't know what's underneath the clothes, the layers, the attitude, the sass, you know, the competitiveness, the job, the smile, the tears. You don't know. So talking about it is not a weak thing. It is so hard, and you need to be so strong to talk about how you are feeling, how you are waking up in the morning and how you're going to sleep are the two hardest moments to get out of bed or to go to sleep. If it's hard to go to sleep, your mind isn't resting. You know, you might sleep 8 hours, but are you really resting? You're waking up and it's really hard to get out of bed. Other people spring out of bed. You know, just because you're going through something doesn't mean it's, you know, more important or less important than someone else's, or your issue sounds similar to theirs, but you're having a harder time, so you don't want to talk about it. Just talk about it. It's fine. You're allowed to cry. Like, I cry all the time. I'm surprised I haven't cried today talking about some of the stuff that I have, because it's a powerful thing. And emotions are such a pivotal part of growing up and becoming a man, becoming a woman, becoming a leader, becoming a mother or a father or a brother or a sister, that we have to embrace it. And I think when we do and we understand that it's okay to not be okay, and that's a cliche saying, and are you okay? That question gets asked all the time, but are you genuinely okay? Have you done what you need to help you? If you can start ticking just a little bit of that box when you need that help, or when you're thinking about those things, or you're going through those tough times, there's other people in those situations and they're going to be there for you. And if they're not, that's not the person to talk to. But there's going to be someone there, and there's professionals. There's hotlines. You can call up a phone anonymously and speak to someone, a complete stranger. And I know sometimes those are overworked and overused and you can't get a hold of them, but keep trying. You know, be as resilient as you can, but put your hand up and say, I need help, because I'm here to tell you that as much as you might admire me or you might hate me, you'll respect the fact that I'm open enough to say that I'm strong enough to be a sook, to be in tears after a game, to be going through, troubled times, and to say, hey man, hey mum, hey sister, hey friend, I need a hug, I need to cry, I need someone to be there for me right now, I need to go and take my mind off it. That's friendship, that's love, that's strength, and that's what we need more of, because too many young men and women take their lives, and anyone in these hard times through COVID, a lot of people lost their lives due to COVID, and it wasn't the virus that killed them. So, you just implore people to put their hand up, because life's tough, but we're here for each other if we allow others to be there for us. So, got to put our hand up first and foremost.
And tell us about the shoes that you wore the other night with "Are You OK" on it.
Yeah, shout out Cohen Sapwell. One of our DP guys he actually does custom shoe work. So, I have to plug him, because I asked for this in a short time frame and I didn't give him much. I said, there's an old ad that New Zealand used to play where a little stick figure used to run and then take the other stick figure's head and bounce it as a basketball. And I was like, I want stick figures that talk about mental health. And he was like, what? I was like, that's what I want. Here's the shoes. I got to go. And then a week later, he comes back and he goes, hey, got your shoes. And I open them and I nearly broke down. I was like, dude, these are incredible. And I've had so many beautiful messages from people, so many messages saying, thank you so much for just shining a little light on mental health. My family, my father, my sister, whoever it is going through something. And it's meant so much to them. And it means so much to me to be able to play in those kind of shoes, because I've been there, I go through it, I'm not afraid to say that. So, if I can, help start the conversation, saying, are you okay, and genuinely waiting for a real answer, not a bullshit fluff answer, then, those shoes have done their absolute job. So appreciate you, Sap, for doing them. You've helped a lot of people.
And while we're on the subject of mental health, another Australian basketball player that has been having a tough time is Ben Simmons. I mean, what's your perspective on that whole situation?
I think that there's obviously ways Ben could have handled things better, but there's obviously ways the club could have handled things better. And then there's ways that people want to have clickbait flat out. Ben Simmons does this, Ben Simmons does that, and then everyone's against Ben Simmons. You have no idea what that young man is under, what he's going through, the pressure. And then they go, oh, well, he gets paid so many millions of dollars. He should be going through that. He deserves that. He should be strong enough. He's got enough money. He's got no problems. You are crazy to think if that is a serious answer. I don't know what he has to go through. I have no idea. But I know that I've been through some things, and I know that I've sent him messages and said, brother, I don't know what you're going through, but if you ever need anything, I'm here. I'm supporting you. All the best. And he's replied, and he's just been, thanks mate, appreciate it, keep working. Like stuff, simple things like that. I think I've met him a handful of times, and I've spoken to him less, but I've made sure that I'm there for him, because I don't know what real conversations happen behind closed doors or behind his back, or what text messages got sent. I got no idea. I don't really care. That's not my life to be involved in. But that young man has so much pressure on his shoulders, and he's one of the best in the NBA as a player. Like, I think he's incredible, and he's got such a long future ahead of him. His level could be so astronomically high, and I think he's going to get there. But with all that, fame becomes a lot of haters, and I just hope he keeps his head down, because I think he's gone through enough, and I just like to see him play some great basketball, be healthy, inspire more young men and women to play the game. And, I just hope he gets through it. I hope he gets out there soon and absolutely bust some ass, because he's a pleasure to watch, and I'm proud that he's an Australian, because, it's good to be rooting for him.
And speaking of Ben Simmons, he's now playing with Patty Mills, who obviously had an incredible game in the bronze medal for Australia. I mean, I saw on your Instagram you put up saying Paddy for Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you feel as an Australian basketball player, watching that match, and the emotions that you felt.
Yeah, look, first and foremost, like, not being selected for it was tough, but then, you put your hat on and you go, I'm an Aussie. Like, I actually didn't watch any of the games. I couldn't sit through it. I still haven't watched any of the games. It was really hard for me to miss out, and that was probably a part of the reason why I took so much time off. But in saying that, to watch, the highlights of some of the games, to see some of the performances that they put in, the only parts that I did watch was the highlights from that last game, and it was just Paddy just being a monster, and the fact that the rest of those guys, the guys that didn't play, the coaching staff, everyone that was a part of it, they brought a bronze medal back to Australia. That is, there's no prouder thing you want than to represent your country with passion and pride and the right way, and Paddy's done that. I still think if he wants to come back for PM, I'll put on the ballot card. I might actually vote for a change. I'll vote for Paddy for sure.
And you've played it for Australia a number of times, particularly the big matches here against America and Melbourne. I mean, how was that, putting on the Australian jersey and playing in front of huge crowd here in Melbourne?
The Marvel Stadium game was crazy. To walk into that venue and shoot around the morning of, and you've got obviously Team USA there, and you've got all the great Aussies there. We knew that we had an absolute fight on our hands, and look, to go out and to look around and to see 50,000+ people sitting on a football field watching basketball, that was pretty sick. I still can't remember seeing a single person in the crowd. We were elevated, it was dark, and the camber of the oval was like this. So I remember the people at the back on the floor couldn't see anything in front of them. So it was pretty funny. You hear of some cool moments in sporting cultures and histories, and for Australian basketball, I think that's probably going to be marked down as one of the all-time greatest, hit-outs, and then to obviously topple Team USA. That was pretty damn awesome, to get that opportunity to be on court with some of those amazing players. I remember guarding Donovan Mitchell in an ISO situation for him to hit a game winner pretty much, and there's some pretty cool moments. So as a young boy running around on the farm, you don't think kicking rocks, going to garden, one of the best in the NBA on an elevated floor at Marvel Stadium in front of 50,000 people is ever going to happen, but shit, I'll take it. It's pretty cool.
Now we're going to have some fun with this next question. Let's put together your dream starting five. You're in the starting five, but which other 4 players would you choose? It could be past, present, NBA, NBL.
Man, if I had to, I'd go NBA. I would say if I had to play.
Yeah, you're in the team.
All right, let's go. I would have Shaq as my 5. I'd have LeBron probably as my point guard. MJ at the 2, and then I'd have myself at the 3, and I'd have Sean Kemp at the 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we got some inside out and we got some power in there, but yeah, probably not the most balanced team, but there's some gangsters I'd like to play with. I'd love to play with Sean Kemp. I would have loved to be on the court with Shaq and just throw that thing in the low post and watch him absolutely dominate. But yeah, MJ would be one of the guys, and LeBron, I think he's arguably one of the greatest ever. He's the greatest in this era. I think MJ was the greatest in his era. I think this is the second era of basketball, and I think that goes to LeBron, and I think the next era is Steph Curry. So, I think those 3 guys really take the cake for me, but I got to have Sean Kemp in there. He's my guy.
I love Kemp, by the way. I had his jersey. That was the first NBA jersey I ever bought. So, yeah. And look, top 5 Australian basketball players. Who would you put in there?
Man,
all time.
Look, you got to put the Prime Minister in there. Paddy Mills is going in at for sure. There's a lot of really good players. Bogut's got to be in there. He was so dominant for such a long time. Notable mention to Longers, Luke Longley. He mightn't always beat me at backgammon, but he definitely beats me 1-on-1 in the post. But I might go the Twin Towers. Let's go the Twin Towers of Longley and Bogues. That'd be pretty fun. I'm not saying this is what everyone would pick. I think Gazy, because he just sniffed out a bucket from a mile away. I love how Joe plays. Like, Joe Ingles is just so smooth, man. Like, I love how he goes about it. I mean, you could go through dozens of different players, Ben Simmons and, Delhi even, and there's just talent after talent keeps rolling through. But, I think those guys would do pretty well. Paddy, Gazy, Joe, and then I'd go my 2 big Twin Towers.
being a big unit, you're a unit yourself. That's one thing that I've always looked up to you with, is that you've got an NBA body. What do you do? Like, what's your training schedule like, and how often do you train? And have you, what age did you really start pushing that?
I started when I was probably young with a lot of bodyweight stuff, chin-ups, push-ups, dips, lat pull-down, and sit-ups. They were the 5 exercises. We did 5 sets of 5 of max reps at every single time. We did 5 days a week. That was from about 13, 14. Once we developed and established a good bodyweight strength, we understood that, after that, lifting weights was peanuts. I still incorporate a lot of bodyweight stuff. At the moment in season, it's normally 2 to 3 heavy gym sessions a week. All my stuff's run through Danny Kennedy at the moment. So DK Fitness looks after me. I grew up with Danny in Horsham. He was a year below me, but he does all my training and everything now, and all my programming, reviews every session, every weight I've lifted, every rep I've done. It all goes into an application, and basically it spits out a formula that helps him, and we touch base quite frequently. So he's been a huge contributing partner to that. Adam Murphy back in Adelaide was phenomenal. He's got Murph-made athletes now that only go to specific people who have earned it. And he's where I got a lot of strength and drew a lot of that passion from getting in the gym. I always loved it, but he was someone who really brought the best out in me. But I understood that if I was fitter and stronger for longer, I could obviously play more minutes, do more, and be less tired, so I'd make better decisions. When my skill set caught up, I understood that I could be a pretty dangerous player, and I think that's where I'm at today.
Now I'm going to show you another photo, and I want to get your thoughts on this.
These make me really nervous. Hey, Swoops. Yeah, it's my baby, my Pontiac, 69 Pontiac Firebird. Basically bought it it was meant to be pretty much a fully done car, but needed a lot of work, a lot of engine work, a lot of body work, a lot of interior, had to redo everything. We rewired the whole car. We did everything, literally brand new ignition, dash, rewired the whole car front to back, brake clusters, batteries, distributors. We did all the leads, we trimmed everything, put new breathers. Literally everything to that car was done. We had a full, stereo put through, a custom footwell speakers, dynamated the whole car, whole boot had been done, runs like a dream, diff dumpers, sounds unreal. 6-litre V8, mate, 400 cube. It's what cars are about. It's pretty sick. If you don't like cars, you're not like that, then I don't give a shit because I love it. So, but actually, crazy story. I've actually just sold Swoops.
Oh, no.
And to a member from the Phoenix. Sits courtside.
Oh, wow.
I'm doing another project car in the next probably 12 months. So it's done. It's been done for a while now. She's in amazing condition and needs to go to a home that's going to now really appreciate her for who she is. Speak about it like it's my wife. But yeah, it's time to do a new car now. So yeah, there'll be a watch this space in the next 6 months, I reckon. But yeah, she's beautiful.
And I know you've got a thing for adrenaline, and some of those are jumping out of planes and being a thrill seeker. Where did this passion come from?
I did a couple of tandem skydives when I was younger, 14th birthday, about 16. I did one when I was 17, I think about 18 or 19 again. And then I did another tandem when I was in America a couple of years ago. And this is about 3 or 4 years ago now, and I got bored in the tandem on the way down. I took someone else with me, and they did their first tandem, had an amazing time. And I looked across and we landed, and I was just like, yay, that was fun. And she was beside herself, best thing she's ever done. And I was like, I've always wanted to do solo, now it's time. If I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn. So I was in Minnesota in the off season, and after I played with the Timberwolves, and 40 minutes west was, or east, sorry, was Wisconsin, Baldwin, and they had a jump center there, a drop zone, and I went in and learned how to skydive, and a week later I was doing solos. So it's now become a passion. I've done nearly 200 jumps, and next one's going to be base jumping. So I know all my friends and family aren't going to be too fond of that one, but it's such a peaceful, joyous thing you do. It's not really crazy. You don't do it for an adrenaline rush. You actually do it for the opposite. You find a real blissful moment of just falling, and it's hard to describe to someone to feel comfortable falling from 15,000 feet You know, like I can jump out of a plane and just lay back like this, and a minute can go by, and we're at 5,000 feet, roll over and pull my parachute. And I've jumped out and closed my eyes and counted to 60 before, and
Damn.
there's some pretty cool things you can do. So
I'm scared of getting on a ladder, so let alone jumping out of a plane.
So maybe we'll have to. I'll take you one time and we can go. So
Oh, boy.
we'll get out of that comfort zone.
We'll see. And another thing that you love doing is riding motorbikes. Tell me about this.
Same again. I grew up on motorbikes. I had my license when I was 18. Got it straight away. Rode motorbikes my whole life. Always road bikes, dirt bikes, Harleys. Just always loved it. The freedom and the peacefulness you get. You put your helmet on. You might have your headphones in, or however you want to ride. Earplugs, quiet, and all you've got is this like dull, like everything. It's for you. I reckon it'd be what a racehorse feels like when you put their little blinkers on, and you get this little tunnel vision, and you're just riding, and you don't really notice. And then I started getting into racing motorcycles and going to more track days and stuff like that. And that's where my passion really turned into like, I love this. Like I really, really love this. Bought a race bike, started, putting a bit of work into that, and started doing more and more track days. And now I'm kind of at a point where, I ride with all the pro guys now. There's 4 different levels, and the top group is the red group, and you've got to be in the 1 minute 40s if you're at Phillip Island to get into that. And I broke into that, and now I'm down to the 144s, so I'm pretty proud of that. Still got a long way to go, but it's just a passion that you chase. Fluidity, flow, comfort, trust in the bike. You feel all the vibrations in your hands and your fingers, brake pressures, the instability of the track, or whatever it is, and you start to just get into a flow state, and it just feels natural. And that's for me what I want to try and achieve out of life. And if I find more and more of those things, I'll always be in a good headspace.
Do the tats go with the motorbike? Is that how it came?
Nah, not at all. I started with a couple, turned into a couple more, and then it was like, I'll get my quad done. And then it was like, I'll get just past my knee done. And then it was like, I'll just get a 3/4 sleeve. And then I'll get a full sleeve. And then I was like, I've got one leg done. I may as well do the second one. And I had a heap of different things that I've wanted to get for a lot of different reasons. And I did a second leg. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got a lot of tattoos. I was like, holy shit. So I haven't got any for a while now, but it's definitely something that, I normally wear pants around people I haven't met before. And the first few times you see them, and then all of a sudden you got shorts on and they're like, what the hell? You look like a bloody colouring in book. So it's pretty cool to have that side to it as well. It's an expressive thing. It's like a warrior mentality as well. It's like a tribal. You want to be expressive of who you are, and you want to put that on display. And although it might be in a bit of a code almost, it's a part of who I am and a reflection. So yeah, I'm really proud of it.
And what's the most special tat that you have? Like anything that means the most to you?
Probably the one on my leg. It's basically between my sister and I. We have an incredible bond, and we've had visualizations, meditations, stuff like that, dreams, visions that have aligned. And she's written about in her sleep, which sounds crazy to some people, but she writes in her sleep, and she sees different things and hears things, and we're very connected spiritually. And I actually designed this whole lower part of my inside of my leg, and I sent her a message one day, and she just goes, oh my God, I got to tell you about this thing. And it happened. And it was actually crazy because she did a world meditation, and for a couple of hours came out of it, and she had all these things aligned at the same time. And she sent me all these messages and pictures and was like, look at this is crazy. And I instantly just like lost it emotionally, just ran to her. And I remember showing her my leg design, and 3 or 4 of the things she had a vision and a memory of, and had been communicated through. I had designed the exact same references and story, but I was on the other side of it. So she had the exact same thing, but on the opposite side, and we were seeing each other through it. And it was just by no crazy other than a coincidence and fate maybe that it happened. So this one for me is the most important one and the most special. So yeah, it's definitely for my sister.
And we're gonna go from tats to the kitchen. You've had some little cooking segments that we've seen on social media. If you could have an all-time favorite guest come over for dinner, who would it be, and what would you serve?
Would love to sit down with Travis Pastrana. I think he's just a rad dude. Obviously he's the #1 action sports star in the world, has been for many years. Motorcycles, cars, skydiving, base jumping, whatever it is that you find that flow state from. He's definitely probably the closest to doing that every single day. And his energy and how he is around people and selfless he is, I think I'd love to have him around. I'm not sure what he'd want to eat. I might have to just go with a nice Sunday roast or something like that. But might have to sit down and have a few frothies with him and talk a bit of shit and just kind of pick his brain a little bit and just see what that mentality is for him and where he draws that from, because he's definitely a one-off kind of human being, and I don't think there'll be anyone ever like him again. So he's definitely the person I'd bring.
And look, you've had an incredible career so far, still going. You've talked about some amazing stories today, but is there something that really stands out for you as a highlight?
I think just the first time receiving my Australian jersey, just getting your name and your number put on it, and I remember I cried in front of Longers and Dre and all the coaches for minutes. I was just bawling and I couldn't believe it, and I hugged them, and it meant so much to finally get your name on an Aussie jersey, and that was sweet. That'll always ring a heartstring for me. I've still got the jersey. I've still got it there, signed by the team, and it's all framed. So, definitely the first Aussie one.
Amazing. All right, now look, we're going to finish with a few fun questions.
Cool.
So, just quick ones. LeBron or Kobe?
LeBron.
AFL or soccer?
AFL.
Motorbike or car?
Motorbike.
Ford or Holden?
Holden.
Vegemite or peanut butter?
Peanut butter, crunchy.
Oh, okay. Budgie smugglers or boardies?
Budgies.
Wheat Bix or Cocoa Pops?
Ooh. The Cocoa Pop crackle little things you cook, those little they're like honey joys. Those being Cocoa Pops.
Instagram or Netflix?
Netflix.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
PC or Mac?
PC.
Podcast or local radio?
Podcast.
Coffee or protein shake?
Protein shake.
Sprints or three-man weaves?
Three-man weaves.
All right, there we go. Fantastic. And look, to finish things off, let people know where they can follow you. Where's the best place on social media?
Mitchell Creek 55 on Instagram. It's probably the one I'm most frequent on. Anyone that's going through any battles, need any advice, or want to hear a story, or share an emotion or a thought, or anything at all, you want to ask questions, doesn't matter what it is, I'll always be as receptive as possible, with the best of my time that I have. So feel free to shout out, feel free to say good day. If there's a moment or a time, or I've had a positive effect, or there's something I can help, or maybe, as I said, listen, please do send me a message. I genuinely do mean it, and I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their day and evening, wherever they are. Really appreciate today, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.